happened. I feel like that was enough. Hello, family. Doing a little better, still a little phlegmy. Had a flat tire. They didn't have an appointment. Got to go back tomorrow. That's where I've been, or I would have been here earlier. What else has happened? So I have to film a few things after this, but I still wanted to be doing my daily tutorials. But again, we're still getting over this, so I'm not just going in all the way doing tutorials that take me 2 hours. So bear with me. I'm here every day, but I'm just not here doing complete full tutorials because I'm also going to do a first impressions on this. This will be posted tonight. This looks fun. So it's a liner and a lash glue in one. I've heard things about it. I've heard it's pretty good, but we're going to do a test. For right now, I want to talk about primers. Primers are going to be key to making your makeup last in the summer heat. It's real hot here. It's almost 100 here today, and it's real humid, and I love it. If you are extremely oily and your makeup just won't stay, if you see me looking around, it's because I'm looking for this. This is the one I always recommend. This right here is the one. This is the Makeup Forever Shine Control Primer. I mean, I'm going to do something shiny. I'm going to do right here in the middle of my forehead. I'm just going to apply. Look how little. Look at that. That tiny little amount. And once it dries, I mean, you can already see it, you're getting rid of that shine. But a little bit goes a long way, because if you put too much, then your foundation is not going to glide over it. So if you're oily or you just have a few shiny areas, this is the best. Nothing compares to this. Now, another thing when you're trying to make your makeup last, a lot of times we think the more we apply of a primer, the more we apply of the foundation, and the more that we apply, the longer it's going to last. It's actually the opposite. You want to work in extremely thin layers. We're still going to work to get that coverage, but we're going to work to get that coverage only in the places that we need it. Say if you normally use, I'm just going to grab this foundation. Say if you normally use 2 pumps of this, just try using 1. We can kind of build it up and fill in the gaps with powders. I know it's wild. I'm going to show you. It's wild, but use only 1 pump of your foundation. I'm telling you, the more you put on, the more the heat and the humidity is just going to melt it off. I will say this is a very long-lasting foundation. I did a wear test on this. It's a few posts back, and this foundation did not move. It's going to be too light for me right now, but that's where this comes in. I'll just darken it with my LA Girl. This is the Mixing Pigments. You guys have seen this. This kind of went viral. Let's do this. This one lasted, so if you want to scroll back, you can find this wear test and you can find these tutorials. Also, I did go ahead and just kind of put this right through the center of my face, just a little bit. If you are dry, this guy right here, but only on the outer perimeter, and if you have any kind of patchiness around your nose, just kind of focus this where you have just extreme dryness, but definitely on the outer perimeter of the face. I also get a lot of questions about just making your makeup waterproof. I don't recommend that. It's really not great on your pores. Makeup Forever does make a sealant. I'll show it to you, but I don't like to tell people to use it because it's very hard to get off. It can clog pores, and if you just take these first steps I'm showing you, it's not going to be waterproof, but even if your face does get wet, you'll be okay. The sealants are they're pretty heavy duty, and I feel like they're meant more for film. This is the sealant I am talking about. This is Aqua Seal from Makeup Forever. If you were to put a drop of this into your foundation, it would not move. Let me see if I can get it to do it. I'm going to just do a little drop here. Jean Cat here. And then we'll mix a drop in. I do not recommend this, but I do want to give you guys options. So a drop and a half, kind of mix it together. It's not going to mess with the formula either. So we'll just kind of thin it out. I'm thinning it out on the back of my hand, and then we'll let it dry. All right, so now I'm just going to take a little bit of water, and there's a lot in there. Okay, there you go. You can see it. It will not move. Do I recommend this? No, but it's an option. Does not move. Will not move. And this is actually a dress from Free People from Revolve. I know I'm already getting a ton of DMs. I don't know why I do that. I just get excited for makeup and don't really care what I have on. Yeah, so I'll tag it. That being said, if you do grab this, you don't even need a primer. You don't need nothing. This is it. This is it. That's all you need. Just go to town. Again, I don't wear that, but it is completely waterproof. Now, moving on, I'm just going to do one pump. Remember how I said one pump of that, and then I'm gonna have to darken it, so I'm just gonna do that much. Do you see how little that is compared? Okay, I mixed it, and now I'm just kind of swatching. This is not the brush that I'm gonna use, it's just the one that I mixed, making sure that disappears. It disappears. Y'all are probably sick of hearing this, but the way that I even press foundation in really helps to make that foundation last. So it's not just sitting on top of the skin, it's worked into the skin. So I'm just picking this up and I'm going to continue to press. You've seen me do this 1,000 times, but I have to stress, pressing that in is key. I also want to say that if you are using a sponge to apply it, a lot of times sponges, they can be too damp. And what happens with moisture and foundation? It separates, it lifts, it turns into chaos. So that's why I love using a brush. Again, we're still not done with the coverage. Again, we still have to do concealer, and then I'm going to show you that we're going to use a face powder to kind of fill in any kind of blanks. So you're still going to see a little bit of redness on my cheeks. To me, I like to see that sometimes. I feel like it looks summery, but I will show you if you need that full coverage, we're still going to get that full coverage, but the key is not to load on liquid foundation. If you still need to color correct, go ahead and color correct. You're using such a thin amount that it won't be too many layers. I'm not going to, and I'm actually going to use this, but not in this color. This is the Fenty, the Bright Fix, but I'm looking for a different shade. I love these. They set themselves, and again, if we don't have to set underneath our eyes with powder, even better. I found it. So I wanted the shade Melon. It has a little bit of peach in it. It's kind of going to be a 2-for-1 special. I'll just take a little bit, and sometimes it comes out a little bit more aggressive, but we can just always transfer it over. Yeah, that's going to be too much. So we'll just apply it there. Just kind of that same shape. I'm about to grab my brush, but I'm just going to place it with my finger. Again, you do not have to set these, and that's why I think they're so great for summertime. If you still need a little bit more, just use your favorite concealer, but again, it's really about those pressing motions. And it's also about having something dry pressing that in. I'm not telling you to toss your blenders, but I will say, if you can, wet them at the very beginning of your makeup, squeeze them into a towel, a paper towel, and then let them sit for like 20 minutes. Because damp, even if we wring them out right after, I'm not sure where I was, but I know I was talking about blenders, but just wait 20 minutes. I know that seems like such a long time, but it's really hard to gauge how wet they are, and they will separate and lift. If you want to just kind of brighten through here, we can use whatever's left on our brush. We're still going to use powder, but we're not going to set underneath our eyes since we don't have to. So I'm going to use this Makeup Forever powder. I love my Beauty Creations one, but I just swatched it and it's too light for my little self-tan thing I got going on here. This one should work pretty well. This is the shade R230, and instead of a brush, I'm actually going to use a puff. And what this puff is going to do is it's just going to give us a little bit more coverage. Do you see that? I want to do one side just so you can see. We still have to add bronzer, so if our powder's a little too light, we're going to be fine. Do you see that? Powder, we're always so afraid of it, but it's really going to help your makeup last longer. And this is a powder foundation. When the powders are pressed, it's actually going to last a little bit longer. Translucent powders, they're more finely milled. So look for a pressed powder when doing this technique. So just continue with your puff and your powder wherever that you wanted a little bit more coverage. And make sure you're pressing it in. That makes sure that everything is nice and set and worked in. Look at that difference. It looks airbrushed. So pretty. I wish I had a powder just a touch darker, but I don't right now. I played myself with my beautiful spicy tan. Nothing a little bronzer can't fix. Now we're gonna grab this Huda Beauty bronzer. This was the shade medium, so we're going a little bit darker. And I'm just gonna start to press this in. Again, with the pressing motions, I'm telling you, once you start pressing your makeup in, it lasts so much longer. So I'm gonna go around my nose. I don't really contour my nose, but I'll definitely bronze it. Do a little bronzer there. I didn't do my eyes today because I have to, again, film, of course. And I really just want to focus on the skin. So this is totally wild, but it's been one of my favorite tips forever. The warmth in the bronzer, if you ever so lightly just kind of tap it underneath your eye, I feel that it just kind of cancels any darkness and it looks so natural. So just a little bit. I didn't go back in. I just used what was left. One cannot apply enough blush. These are my favorite. I love them. If you don't have one yet, please go get one. This is the shade Ruby Flesh. These are the Moira Cosmetics Signature Ombre. Ooh, I barely touched that. She's aggressive. So I'm going to apply this. Where do I want? I think I want to do it underneath my eyes today. It's going to look a little wild, but again, just press. And then we'll go across the nose. And if you ever feel like you've gotten out of control, just grab your foundation brush and work that back in. I didn't add more foundation, but just that little bit is just going to press it in and make it look like a natural flush. The moment I found this out, you couldn't tell me what. And then we'll apply a little bit across here and a little bit across here. I feel like I still have too much blush. I've never used this shade and it is really pigmented, but again, I'll just continue to press that in. And I do want to say, if you do happen to get the water seal, you would apply it just like you would your regular foundation, but you do want to hustle because it dries fast. So work in sections. I did want to give you that tip. And that's about it. I don't use setting spray. I feel that setting spray most times, it just kind of makes everything wet again. And the whole purpose for me is to make sure there's no moisture on my makeup. It's just going to separate. That being said, if you are already loving your setting spray, it's working for you, please don't stop using it. I just never found one that I loved. I would even press it back in with powder. That's the best technique, I will say. If I really, really want to wear one, if you put it on and then kind of go back over with powder, that is really going to work for you. But for me, since I am balanced to dry, I don't have to worry about it as much. But if you're oily and you do want to use a setting spray, just apply it before you apply any powders, and then take your puff and press powder on top of that setting spray. But if you're balanced to dry, you can skip setting spray unless you already love it and it's working for you. I think that that's about it. I do want to mention that when I do my skin prep before this, that's going to be all of my serums, moisturizers, and SPF. By the time I get over here, you're just seeing the makeup side, and that's where I start with the primers and go into foundation, concealer, powder, etc. Is it etc.? I feel like it's etc. I can't really say it that well right now because my nose is stuffy. But I did want to tell you guys my favorite sunscreen. It's going to be the Supergoop Unseen Sunscreen. And then I want you guys to swipe up and read this link that my friend Jessica, she wrote this article and I found it really helpful. So check it out. Thank you guys so much for bearing with me. I have not even been able to hear myself most of this tutorial. But I even feel better than I felt yesterday. I feel like I get over any kind of sinus infection or any kind of cold very fast. So thank goodness for that. But I do want to say thank you for understanding why I'm not doing just complete full tutorials. I'm going to go film this and we'll do a first impression and I'll post this in a little while. I can't wait. I love you guys so much and we'll see you tomorrow.